Welcome back into the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show. Experiencing a few technical difficulties, so we will see if we can get chilly later in the show. We're going to move up our breakdown now. We'll start out with 6A, Chandler versus Perry. Now, in the regular season, Chandler beat Perry 55-27. We talked after we recapped our chat with head coach Saguaro that it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season. Yeah,
that's a tough thing to do, but when you have a roster like Chandler does, it's tough to stop an offense like that, because Gunnar Romney, that was his lowest yards total for that in games that he played. He was injured a couple of games, but 40 yards on that day, but Drake Anderson and DeCarlos Brooks combined for 360 rushing yards. So it's kind of pick your poison in that respect. Gunnar Romney has also, though, come back and just had a great span of 5 games with 11 touchdowns, over 800 yards, absolutely dominant against Red Mountain. And you can just see why he's one of the top receivers on the West Coast in the country, because he has the size, he has the speed, he can go through traffic and make catches. He's really just such a great tool for Jacob Conover, and then you have 5 or 6 other guys that can make very similar plays on the ground or in the air for the Chandler Wolves. For Perry, it's Brock Purdy's obviously going to have a huge game. The defense is going to have to come to play. And really, I think they're going to have to be able to sustain long drives. We've seen Perry, be pretty quick strike, but I think you need to try to get this very deep Chandler defense tired. And really have them work, and the depth has been there, all year. So it's really hard, with maybe the exception of the IMG game. You've been able to see the defense at full strength. That's a big key. I think that this is going to be a closer game than last time, and just going to be a really good one against between a couple of quarterbacks that don't make too many mistakes. Head coaches that really have brought their programs to new heights, and I'm really excited to check this one out.
In 5A, we've got Centennial and Notre Dame Prep, and we talked pretty extensively after we chatted with Centennial head coach Richard Taylor about this one. But what are your keys to this game?
It's going to be special teams and turnovers. I know that's not groundbreaking by any means, but Centennial, it seems like every big game they're in, they have a huge special teams play, whether it's a blocked field goal or a couple years ago when they beat Desert Ridge in the state title, they ran a fake punt where Boston Sanders took it like 40 yards, and that just completely changed the game. They have very reliable kicking, from the field goal perspective, and that sort of thing. And Notre Dame doesn't, have too many turnovers, but they cause a lot of turnovers as well. So that's something that's going to help even the field, certainly. And it's just, again, these are just 2 really deep teams in the trenches at the skill positions. I think that, Kylan Weiser and Ruben Beltran, these 2 quarterbacks, they don't get enough credit for what they do. I think Kylan Weiser is having a great year, and gets the ball to his playmakers and can make plays with his feet if the defense isn't paying too much attention to him. So, again, I think this is the most evenly matched game on Saturday.
And we talked about the redemption earlier in this game, and I think, like you said, evenly matched, redemption. It's just the storylines surrounding this game are impressive.
Yeah, and it's going to be, a lot of guys who are going to be playing at the next level. These are 2 teams that have multi-year starters, so they're not going to shy away from the big stage. I think we're gonna come away from this game where it's going to be, this team won, but neither team lost the game. It's just going to be kind of one of those, who had the ball at the end, or who was able to make that big play in the last 5 minutes of the game to really, capitalize on that opportunity.
In 4A, South Pointe Catholic and Saguaro, you've got a pretty balanced Saguaro team against an excellent run game with South Pointe and Bijan Robinson. But on Saguaro's side, you've got big playmakers like Josiah Bradley, Max Massingale, Logan Pettyjohn, Zach Wilson. Just it seems everywhere the ball goes, there's black jerseys or whatever color Saguaro jersey is wearing that
I hope
night.
they
that
wear
game.
the bright yellow ones. I loved those jerseys. I was at the Peoria game, and they were wearing like the all yellows, and those were bright, but I loved them. So I hope they wear those ones. Two things to note about Saguaro. They've had 2 losses this year against Liberty in Nevada and East in Utah. East was the state runner-up in Utah, and Liberty lost to Bishop Gorman in the state semifinals. So those 2 losses are to some pretty darn good football teams, and I think everyone knew that, but that just kind of solidifies it. Against Arizona team, Saguaro has given up 112 points. That's in 11 games, so that's a tick above 10 points a game. So the defense is just playing great. Josiah Bradley is playing his best football right now. He has the most reps he's ever had as a running back, as a safety. He has 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. He averaged nearly 8 yards a rush last week against Higley. So he's been all over the place. I know that he's had some lingering injuries earlier in this year, but he seems like he's full strength. So he could definitely be a game changer. And then on the other side, you have Bijan Robinson and Mario Padilla. Interesting to look at. When they played Sunrise Mountain, both of these guys like almost doubled their carry total. Bijan Robinson had 27 carries. Before that, he had about 17. So I think you're starting to see Coach Benet, really start to feed those guys, maybe get their endurance up a little bit, and probably also knowing that they would have 2 weeks off. So, maybe he could run them a little bit more than usual. But I see a heavy dose of those 2 getting the football. They combined for 505 yards against number 1 Sunrise Mountain, who also has a very good defense. So I think this is going to be a really fun game. And one other thing to note about this game, South Pointe Catholic is driving like 7 minutes to the stadium. Saguaro has to go from Scottsdale down to Tucson, but 2 of the 4 state championships they've had in this run happened in Tucson. So Jason Mons knows what he's doing in terms of winning state championships really anywhere. But I don't think it's as much of a factor, maybe not as much of a home field advantage as maybe some people are thinking, just because they do have that experience in that stadium.
That'll do it for the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show today. 6A, 5A, and 4A state championships on Saturday in Arizona Stadium. Good luck to all the teams playing those games on Saturday. Be sure to keep it on sports360az.com for all of your state coverage and more high school football content. We'll see you next time.